Good evening and a warm welcome to Straight Talk. Our guest this evening is Mr. Anthony Lam, Executive Deputy Chairman of the Federation of Hong Kong Industries, and within that is the Chairman of the Industry Group 8 for the Food, Beverage and Tobacco. Mr. Lam is also the CEO and the Vice Chairman of Golden Resources Group, a rice and retailing business listed on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. He is also Chairman of the QMark Council, as well as the Advisory Committee on Agriculture and Fisheries. With his wide-ranging and authoritative experience in the food industry, we have invited Mr. Lam to tell us, could Hong Kong run out of food? Welcome, Anthony.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here, Eugene.
Anthony, perhaps we can start by asking you to give our viewers an overview of the current state of Hong Kong food supply.
Hong Kong food supply is absolutely no problem. So Hong Kong actually imports most of their food. For example, the fresh food, most of them are imported from China. And for example, cattle is 100% from China. On the other hand, live chicken, poultry, is 100% from Hong Kong. So the Hong Kong supply of food, you talk about rice, you talk about vegetable, it's mainly from China, and we have absolutely no problem with that.
Right, so it seems like, well, from what you said, Hong Kong relies quite heavily on imports for its food supply. And how has this dependence evolved over the years? Are we moving towards more and more reliant on the imports, or there's been some changes? And also from which country?
So Hong Kong basically have been importing food products from overseas all along. We did have some kind of agricultural sector, for example, in the Yuen Long area or in some of the areas, but it can never supply enough for the Hong Kong people. So Hong Kong people had been importing food products from overseas, from mainland China, all along. So it hasn't been changed. The agricultural land actually has reduced within Hong Kong from originally about 7% to now about 2%, according to the government data. But you understand why we don't have enough place for people to live. So the government is actually still want to nurture the agricultural sector. So instead of having a wide space and land area for the growing of the agricultural products, they are now looking at like agricultural park and some like multi-layer poultry and swine growing areas instead.
Anthony, so what are the, since you mentioned, I mean, it's primarily over the years has always been imported dependent. So naturally people will be concerned about the safety and also about the actual security of the food supply itself rather than the sort of specific food. So what factors do you think will affect that?
Now, I'll give you some interesting data to consider first. For example, rice in Hong Kong, we import about 58% from Thailand. We import around about 20% from Vietnam. So it's all basically 99.99% of our rice are imported from overseas. Of course, mainland also supply about 8% of the rice to Hong Kong. And you talk about chilled beef, it's 33% from Australia, and Brazil, 30%. For frozen beef, it's 54% from Brazil and 20% from USA. Mutton and both chilled and frozen, you would expect it's mainly from Australia. You talk about pork, chilled pork, 63% from Thailand, and frozen pork, 56% from Brazil. So these are all government data, and you can see that actually Hong Kong has been importing from all different countries around the world. So Hong Kong merchants or Hong Kong traders are very, very easy to look for different suppliers and different locations around the world for the best quality product to be sent to Hong Kong.
So in that case, safety and security-wise, you don't have much concern?
No. Hong Kong, safety-wise, Hong Kong, they have a Center for Food Safety. We call it CFS. Okay, they are holding the background and to check the quality of actually the safety of the product into Hong Kong. In 2022 alone, they have checked about 66,000 samples for all the food products into Hong Kong. So I'm pretty confident on those what the CFS has been doing.
Right. We will come back to the CFS later on in the show. Since you mentioned that we have a lot of live chicken from Hong Kong.
Right.
And I remembered during our school days, we always want to go to the new territories to get some fresh vegetables. But I've sort of seen we have a sort of gradual decrease in the local production of vegetables. Why is that?
It's the land availability. So still, you can go to new territories for the new vegetable, the Hong Kong grown vegetable. As a matter of fact, the Hong Kong local grown vegetables are more expensive than the imported vegetables. Apart from the salad vegetables you can find from the supermarket, which is a packaged salad, they are very, very expensive. But normally, if you go to the market in Hong Kong, a locally grown vegetable is more expensive than those vegetables imported from mainland. So people has preference, and the traders are actually reacting to what the people wants, the consumer wants. So that's why they have been changing. So a lot of the product, for example, vegetable from Hong Kong is well demand. A lot of people demand, especially for the 5-star hotels or 4-star hotels. They want the local grown vegetable.
Right.
And apart from the land grown vegetable, we also now have the hydroponic vegetable also grown in Hong Kong. But still, they are a very small share amongst the total food vegetable products in Hong Kong.
Right, Anthony, we all know rice has been a staple food for Hong Kong for many years, and everybody needs a bowl of rice. I remember even have second bowls or third bowls. And we know that people tell me you're a walking dictionary of rice. I've known you since we are young, and your father was known as the king of rice. So as a third generation of executive of this family business, the Golden Resources Development International, can you share your observation on the rice market in Hong Kong? I mean, in the last 50 years, what have you seen? Have you seen sort of an increasing rice market or decreasing, or what have been your observations? Okay,
Hong Kong, for example, the manufacturing sector in Hong Kong, the blue-collar worker in Hong Kong has been reduced. So the overall consumption of the rice, it used to be around about over 300,000 tons. So we always talk about 320,000 tons or 350,000 tons at one time. But now, as last year, 2022, Hong Kong consumption of rice is around about 260,000 tons. So right. People eat less rice. But the quality of the rice the people eat actually had been increased. So they're buying more expensive rice. They are demanding a lot of the cleanliness of the rice, the processing of the rice. They focus a lot into it.
Although we are eating less rice, but it's a very important part of daily lives. So could we ever run out of rice in Hong Kong?
I don't think so. Because in Hong Kong, if you remember in the around year 2000, there was a rush in rice in Hong Kong, and Premier Wen Jiabao actually promised Hong Kong to the amount that whenever Hong Kong needs rice or there's a short of rice, China can provide the rice to Hong Kong. So you have a basic insurance on that. But Hong Kong government also has a very strong policy for the rice protection, because rice is still a reserve stock in Hong Kong. So all the traders need to keep 17% of the rice that they import as reserve stock. So the government, the TID, the Trade and Industry Department, the Custom will go to each of the rice importers' warehouse to check the rice every month. So we have to fill in all the forms and report to them. So they will want to make sure that in the government, on behalf of the government, the traders are actually holding about 17% of the rice, which is about 2 weeks of supply in Hong Kong. And provided also in the trade, so people will also at least keep 2 weeks of stock. So you have a 1 month of stock in Hong Kong. So of course, there was some concern about panic buying in Hong Kong in the past. But I was urged the people not to be too worried about the supplyability of rice. It's actually the over demand of the rice. It's the logistic, that area is affecting this. If you see the supermarkets, there's no rice there, it's not because there's no rice in Hong Kong. It's because the replenishment of the rice is short.
Thank you very much for your reassurance that we have at least 1 month of rice supply in Hong Kong. I mean, that's quite a long time, especially for the current logistics. As we know, all the food production and food supplies are getting more and more sort of globally. But it's interesting when you said that although we are fully imported for all of our food, we are quite safe. But what will be the what we call vulnerable factors that you would consider that might affect that tilt balance? Although you said it's very safe to have food, but we're still import related.
So you can see the price of the logistic. Okay, as you can see for the 3 years during the COVID, the logistic price increased a lot, and it reflects into the food price in Hong Kong. Of course, those coming from mainland would not be bothering too much because they're still on the land link. But if you go on the shipping line, so they will have a little bit of price increase because of the logistic cost and the shortage of the shipment. But of course, as I said, a lot of the rice are from Thailand to Hong Kong, like 58%. But those rice, apart from the sea lane, it can also be a land link, okay? Right. Through Thailand, going to maybe Laos, and then going to China, and then through Hong Kong. That's also an alternative route. So Hong Kong will never run out of rice.
Right, Anthony, let's take a break now. And viewers, do stay with us. We will be right back. Thank you for staying with us. We have Mr. Anthony Lam, the Executive Deputy Chairman of the Federation of Hong Kong Industries with us, talking about the very important issue of how secure our food supply is in Hong Kong. So Anthony, on the first part of the show, you have reassured all of us that we have enough food supply, and basically you don't have a lot to worry. But being on the other side, we're still worried about, because you have told us 99.9% is basically imported food. So has any steps been done by the Federation of the Hong Kong Industries to try to diversify the different sources so that we have less dependency on a few countries?
Actually, the Federation has been advocating a few of the areas that the government might do to enhance the food production in Hong Kong, to enhance the food manufacturing in Hong Kong. So one of the enhancements we want is to build what we call the Advanced Manufacturing Center, the AMC, of food production. So the food production, if it is done in a multi-level in Hong Kong and supplied by yet again, AMC, the Advanced Manufacturing Center for cultivating swine and cultivating poultry. So we can have the local Hong Kong products supplied to the food processor in Hong Kong, and directly from Hong Kong can export the food product from Hong Kong to the GBA area. So this is what we're advocating, especially in the northern metropolis area.
Right. Anthony, you know, Hong Kong has a very high population density, and in a way, making food distribution and logistics very critical. You mentioned earlier that sometimes if the food or the rice hasn't been replenished, there's a reason you see a sort of apparent sort of empty sort of shelf of no rice. So has technology helped the industry in terms of all these logistics?
Of course. The new technology, for example, of the warehouse management system, the delivery system, and then also the trucks. How do they have the best route to deliver to the supermarket, and also the handling system. So all these are added to the swiftness or the speed of the delivery. But still, there is a lag between. I mean, you cannot be delivering, have the truck to deliver the rice to all the supermarkets or all the outlets every day. So they must have, probably they go once every 2 days. So even with the one every 2 days, if after the food product or rice landed in the supermarket and people rushed to it and then everybody took 10 packs, it will be gone within 1 hour. Right. Okay, then there will still be a lag on the delivery or the logistic part. So I think the industry had improved a lot on the technology side, because the Hong Kong government also have given out a RFS, what we call the Reindustrialization Funding Scheme. With the RFS, they are able to help the manufacturing sector to improve the production lines and even packaging lines and even delivery services, right, so that Hong Kong can actually improve on that area so that the supplyability, the supply chain side can be improved.
Right, Anthony, you're also the chair of the Advisory Committee on Agriculture and Fisheries. And before I'm going to ask you something about a fish supply in Hong Kong, I want to ask you about the challenge of sort of limited farmable agricultural land in Hong Kong. I mean, this is reducing, as you said earlier, because of, I mean, we need land for housing. How do you tackle that?
We advocate the multi-level production area because you still need, for example, the conservation, the wastewater treatment, everything. If you're in a multi-level building, it can actually double up or triple up, or even you can have 7 floors or 8 floors of the production area. So you talk about hydroponic farming, that can be all indoors. And the AFCD is actually proposing now, or has been approved, with the new agricultural park in Hong Kong so that they can show the public or the farmers how to use the latest technology in farming. So totally there will be 80 hectares of land for this purpose. So the government is giving the people a lot of choices of if they want to be a farmer or grow things. And you can actually see recently, over the past 5 years, Hong Kong has come up with some amazing agricultural products, like the forget-me-not fish.
Yes.
It used to be only in Malaysia, and
very
Hong Kong,
yes.
very expensive fish. But Hong Kong agriculture sector has been, the fishery sector bought those fish into Hong Kong and grow in Hong Kong. And even the hairy crab is now available as a Hong Kong grown hairy crab. So these are all new technology, and the people are interested into growing.
Just for interest, would that make our forget-me-not fish and the hairy crab cheaper?
It will be more, it's a Hong Kong taste. You worry about the water quality, but the hairy crab in Hong Kong with the very good water system in Hong Kong, I'm not worried about the water quality as well.
Well, since you mentioned forget-me-not fish, a very famous fish, they're very expensive. So where is most of our fish from for Hong Kong supply?
Oh, Hong Kong, most of the fish actually from China. Over 60%, in fact, it's close to 70% is from China. So Hong Kong doesn't have to worry about there's a lack of fish in Hong Kong. So of course, our own fishermen will also go out to the sea to catch the fish. But the supply, I don't think there's any problems in Hong Kong.
Right. Anthony, last week we had Professor Kenneth Leung from the City University on the show talking to us about the safety of imported Japanese food. He said that all Japanese food imported in Hong Kong is safe for consumption because of the stringent test of the radioactive levels by our government. However, although the tritium in the water is fairly low, it is going to be for the next 30 years, it still have a cumulative effect. So he said it's better that we don't eat as much as before, even that is safe. And I just want to ask you, I know you are a fan of Japan, and when you go to Japan now, do you still feel safe of consuming their local seafood?
Okay, well, actually, the Japanese government spent a lot of time to try to explain to the importers and to the traders about the quality of their fish, especially out of the water, especially the Alps, going through the Alps system, the advanced processing system, how to actually treat some of the water before diluting in the ocean. Okay, according to science, the level is minimum, so that it's fit for people's consumption. But of course, there are also the people's sentiment. So I would urge the Japanese government to be very open with their data. For example, when they check they should check all the fish quality or the seafood quality and announce it, like the weather report in Japan. It's very detailed, so that you can have different areas, they pick on which kind of seafood, and release the information to all the public. You have to convince the public, no matter whether it's in Japan or in Hong Kong or in China, that their product is safe.
Well, Professor Leung said that Japan mainly concentrated on the level of tritium. Yes. But they also have strontium and selenium, a different type of material also found that they haven't reported. So do you agree with Professor Leung saying that in Hong Kong is safe, but then you have to be careful because it's still a cumulative effect, even in Japan? What is your view on that?
So according to what we have seen in the trade, we have seen the figures. They also reported of different like strontium, iodine, tritium, and everything. The only problem that they have is the tritium, because tritium acts very close to water, so they cannot treat tritium. Of course, after treatment, the strontium still have a very low level. The iodine also have a very low level, which is, according to the Japanese government, it is on a safety level. Okay, so there's some of these radioactive materials. They are in the wild as well. So I would urge the government, even the Hong Kong government, and then especially the Japanese government, to release all this data so that people feel safe when they eat it. There's now all the sentiment they're saying that it's not safe, the accumulation. Yes, you talk about the next 30 years. But if the level is within the limit of the Hong Kong standard, okay, don't talk to me about the Japanese standard at the moment. We are the Hong Kongese, so we abide by the Hong Kong standard. So if this is the Hong Kong standard is below the Hong Kong, if the seafood contamination, or we call it after they check the figures are under the Hong Kong limit, I think it's just safe to eat.
Well, Anthony, and the last question for you for tonight is, in the past in Hong Kong, I mean, it's very reassuring to hear from you that we have a very safe supply, constant supply, we never run out of food. But there have been a few incidents that we have people running for food, like a couple of years ago. I mean, people were talking about universal testing, last year actually. People were going to stock up food because they're worried that they won't be able to get out for 7 days, for example. So what will you say to the public on this?
I would say, urge yet again the government to be very open. Yet in July or in August, people try to rush for salt in Hong Kong because of the Alps water being released by the Japanese government. Okay, so there are you get a lot of information from different places, but listen to the main media, listen to the government, and advise what to do. In Hong Kong, you don't need to hoard things because they are available in Hong Kong. The government is doing a very good job. The traders are doing a very good job. I don't see much problem in Hong Kong apart from maybe some wrong information. People get all sensitive about those information and go and rush for the rice or the food product. Or toilet paper.
So thank you, Anthony, for your valuable insights into the intricacies of Hong Kong's food supply and for reassuring us of the measures that have been put in place to secure it so that Hong Kongers do not run out of food. Viewers, I'd like to leave you with a quote from Gandhi: "The world has enough for everyone's needs, but not enough for everyone's greed." Have a good evening and see you next week.